Hello, I'm Naveen Day. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. More details and reaction come out about Alberta's $5 billion deficit. Plus, a Freedom Convoy attendee appeals his mischief conviction. And fireworks in the White House as Ukraine's president storms out of the Oval Office after a meeting with the president and vice president. Thanks so much for joining us. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky left the White House without signing a critical minerals deal that U.S. President Donald Trump had been requesting. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance called Zelensky, quote, disrespectful this morning during a heated meeting in the Oval Office. The Ukrainian president was in Washington, D.C. to meet with Trump, hoping to persuade him to provide some form of U.S. backing for Ukraine's security against any future Russian aggression. Instead, tempers flared throughout the meeting between the two leaders, with a planned news conference and ceremony to sign a U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal canceled. Take a look.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Zelensky climbed into his armored vehicle after the blow-up and was escorted by protocol officers off-site. Wow. Now, here in Canada, a man who attended the Freedom Convoy in 2022 and was arrested and convicted of mischief began appealing his conviction this week. Scott Hockaday protested in Ottawa during the rally in order to motivate government medical officials to debate doctors who had criticized the government's COVID response. During the crackdown on the Freedom Convoy that followed the invocation of the Emergencies Act, the arresting officers did not witness Hockaday do anything other than approach other officers, speak to them, turn around, and put his hands behind his back. The arresting officers then approached the scene and completed the arrest. Hockaday's lawyer, Hadim Keir, explains the circumstances surrounding this peculiar incident. Doug Ford's Ontario Progressive Conservatives won a third straight majority government in a snap election. Other leaders struck an optimistic tone in their concession speeches, with NDP leader Marit Stiles staying on as opposition leader. The Liberals won enough seats to regain official party status for the first time since 2018. However, Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie did not win a seat, and the Green Party reclaimed the 2 seats it held before dissolution, including leader Mike Shriners.
Our job is to hold this government to account. And that is the job that we are going to do with our usual fight and our determination, but also with love and hope and optimism.
I know tonight isn't exactly the result we were looking for, but you should be very, very proud of what we did tonight.
I know that Ontarians want us to do better, and I know that we can do better. And so I say to Mr. Ford, congratulations on a majority government. The 2 Ontario Green MPPs will do our job to hold your government accountable.
But Ford and his party won't have long to bask in the glow of their election victory as they face down imminent tariffs from the U.S. Ford won a third straight majority government propelled by his visible crusade against economic uncertainty emanating from the U.S.
Together we have made history. Together we have secured a strong, historic third majority mandate. This election, we ask the people for a mandate. A strong mandate that outlives and outlasts the Trump administration. A mandate to do whatever it takes to protect Ontario. Well, friends, the people have spoken. They're ready to stand up for Canada.
Ford says he will work with governments at every level and of every political stripe to fight the threatened tariffs and shore up Ontario's economy. We will be right back with more news from Forum Daily West. It was originally slated to be a $5 billion surplus, but Alberta's 2025-26 budget is now projected to plunge into a $5.2 billion deficit as it prepares itself for the impact of U.S. tariffs. Alberta Finance Minister Nate Horner delivered the province's budget late Thursday.
We made the difficult decision to run a deficit so that we can direct and target our spending to the top priorities of Albertans. Total expense in 25-26 is forecast at $79.3 billion, an increase of $4.4 billion or 5.9% from 24-25. This includes a $4 billion contingency, double the amount set aside in Budget 2024 to cover unexpected in-year expense increases and support communities and Albertans during natural disasters. This increase is key to provide government with more flexibility to address unforeseen implications of increased economic uncertainty, as well as compensation expense for collective bargaining currently underway.
And speaking of collective bargaining, the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees says this new budget fails to provide adequate funding to public services. As 82,000 AUPE members are currently bargaining on new collective agreements, Vice President Sandra Azocar says this gives the members no confidence in the provincial government.
We're disappointed, to say the least, is an understatement. What we're seeing right now is an underfunding of public services by almost $1 billion between 25 and 26 alone, and more than $3 billion between 24 to 27. So that gives our membership no confidence that we will see any kind of improvement to the work that we do during the upcoming round of bargaining. And definitely it leaves Albertans without the level of services, public services that they need and deserve. And so it was a bad news budget for all of us.
Azocar says the union is ready to fight for what's, quote, fair and just, including on the picket lines across the province. Now, despite the budget deficit, the province is finally making good on a 2-year-old promise to reduce taxes for Albertans. Premier Danielle Smith made the announcement from Calgary today.
In Budget 2025, we're keeping a promise we made 2 years ago to cut taxes for Albertans. And not only that, we're fast-tracking that tax cut from the plan that we laid out just last year. This cut will save individual Alberta taxpayers up to $750 in 2025. Two-income families could see savings of up to $1,500. Taxpayers who earn less than $60,000 will see their personal income taxes fall by 20%. Overall, this personal income tax cut will put more than $1 billion back into the bank accounts of Albertans this year. As we face headwinds from tariff threats that could cause inflation, we felt that we needed to make sure that Albertans had more money in their pockets to support their families, even if that meant having a larger deficit.
The province is foregoing $1.2 billion in cash to cut income taxes as it prepares itself for the impact of U.S. tariffs. The province's spring budget represents an $11 billion margin from the previous budget, which was on track to post a $6 billion surplus. Chris Sims is the Alberta Director for the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. She says Alberta taxpayers should have mixed feelings when it comes to the spring budget.
It was a yes and a no. So a big yes when it comes to Premier Danielle Smith keeping her election promise to reduce the provincial income tax. So a lot of folks may not realize this, but up until today, Albertans were kind of paying high provincial income taxes. So it was at 10% if you're earning up to $140,000. So that was, covering most of the working and middle class of this province. So what they've done is they've reduced that down to 8% for the first $60,000 worth of earnings. What that means in reality is that the average Alberta worker will save around $750 per year. If you make that into a 2-person working family, that's more than $1,500. I did the math, and that covers more than a month's worth of groceries for a family of 4. So these are big time tax savings. We're really happy to see that, but this deficit is definitely causing concern.
A new infrastructure minister has been named in Alberta after the resignation of the previous one earlier this week. Martin Long, MLA for West Yellowhead, was appointed to the cabinet post on Thursday. The move comes after Peter Guthrie resigned as infrastructure minister over concerns about government purchasing practices. Guthrie remains in the United Conservative Caucus, but now sits as a backbencher with no cabinet responsibilities. Students at St. Patrick Fine Arts Elementary School enjoyed a special performance today. The show teaches students not to tolerate bullying and highlighted the importance of kindness in school, as well as the significance of having dreams. When we return, we will have more of the top stories from the West with Forum Daily West. Lethbridge Mayor Blaine Higgin also attended the budget announcement in Edmonton this week and spoke to reporters online about his reaction. He said he is pleased on multiple funding announcements, including updating the city's water treatment plant, expanding healthcare resources, and building more schools.
One of the biggest priorities remains the need for the future expansion for the water and wastewater. So it was encouraging to see that the budget 2025 allocated $520 million across 3 years to support small and mid-sized municipalities in building or enhancing drinking water and wastewater infrastructure. We're pleased with the announcements for another new elementary school for the city, as well as the addition of a urgent care center. We're also encouraged by the recommitment of the plans for the $5 million in planning funds to enhance the ICU capacity in both Lethbridge and at Medicine Hat, as well as introducing a catheterization lab at the Chinook Regional Hospital. The increased funding of up to $39 million across 3 years for the Southern Alberta Medical Program at the University of Lethbridge is another major step forward. It'll take some time to review the entire scope of the 2025 provincial budget, including discussions with our Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer. But to see the full picture, that's what we're going to have to give just a little more time to be able to dive deep into that.
Lethbridge School Division welcomed the new budget. In a statement, the division said they advocated for a new funding formula to replace the weighted moving average. They say they are pleased with Alberta Education's announcements that funding will be provided based on a 2-year average adjusted enrollment method. Division Board Chair Christine Light is concerned, however, that the base grant will not see an increase, which she says accounts for 55% of the division's funding. She does commend the increases for the learning support grants, the operations and maintenance grant, and investments in key capital school projects, including new elementary and high school construction in West Lethbridge. As reported on BCN Thursday, Lethbridge Police Service says the city saw a 16% decrease in crime in 2024 from the previous year and an 18% decrease in crime severity. Crime rates in Lethbridge peaked in 2019, but have seen a steady decrease year over year. 2024 saw a 24% drop since 2019 by over 4,000 incidents. There were significant reductions in opportunistic crimes in 2024 compared to 2023. Break and enter crimes were down by 35%. Mischief by 24%, theft from motor vehicles by 35%, and theft of motor vehicles decreased by 25%. In persons crimes, there was a large drop in sexual assault cases by 38%, general assault by 12%, and robbery was down by 15% compared to 2023 rates. Property crime, once of the highest rates in Lethbridge in 2019, dropped a further 24% from last year. Mayor Blaine Higgins says he is proud of the work of LPS Chief Shaheen Medizadeh and the rest of the service over the last number of years to ensure a safer community.
We've been working very hard with our advocacy work, and a prime example is just restoring the police their budget back to what they needed to be able to, what the commission needed to be able to hire the staffing that was required. And so since 2019, and making its 2021, making its way down, that crime severity index is something that is very welcoming to see. And I want to give just an absolute huge shout out to our chief and to the officers within Lethbridge Police Service for the work that they're doing in helping to serve and protect our community.
Lethbridge County is asking anyone who conducted a controlled burn over the last 2 weeks to ensure it has been completely extinguished. There have been reports that fire crews responded to a wildfire south of Lethbridge on Thursday that was the result of a weeks-old controlled burn that was reignited by strong winds in recent days. A fire advisory is in place due to dry vegetation and high sustained winds, plus reduced snow cover. Fire permits are still being issued, but no burns may take place if winds exceed 25 kilometers an hour. Alberta's wildfire season officially starts on Saturday, March the 1st. Professional bull riding returns to Lethbridge for a 7th straight season as PBR's Canada Cup Series begins this Friday. Some of the nation's top bull riders will square off for 2 days at the visitlethbridge.com arena, including the latest series event winner Dakota Butter and Nick Tetz, who won the last 4 PBR events in Lethbridge since 2022. 28 riders will compete for 2 nights, starting tonight at 6 p.m. and Saturday at 7 p.m. as the Canada Series begins its second Elite Tour event of the year. BCN will provide highlights on our next newscast this coming Monday. Larch Lethbridge will be hosting its 7th annual benefit dinner this Saturday. The event will be held at the Canadian Italian Club at 5 p.m. Tim Wiebe, Executive Director of Larch Lethbridge, explains what the funds raised will be used for to continue their mission of providing support and services to people with disabilities.